Thank you, Abraham. I first would like to express my profound gratitude for sharing your consciousness with me and helping me with my now 26-year-old son, Cooper, who continues to be sober. And I know that the only way I meet him is when I'm in my vortex. So I appreciate that. My question to you today has to do with my rather profound generosity. I'm blessed to have the resources to share my wealth with organizations, international aid organizations, and political organizations, mostly Democratic. But I also share sometimes way too much with my family, my children. And what I've come to realize is that it's really the way that I show my love for them, or one of the ways I show my love for them. But I think there's a sword to it. There's an edge to it that I realize after the sharing that doesn't feel good. Like I'm almost taking away their opportunity to know how to become generous themselves.
Well, it's complicated, isn't it? On the one hand, you could make a case that they are asking and therefore you are answering, and so it's not so much out of whack. But if it feels off to you, it is. And in what ways, what kind of things happen that make you realize that it's off?
It's not in the sharing. It's not in the writing of the check or the transferring of the funds. It's after. When I reflect upon, it's almost like I'm robbing them of, or stealing from them, their own growth opportunity, their own contrast, their own learning in how to live.
Well, here's one way of looking at it. Anything that you do from inside the vortex is always something that is inspired, and so there is a deeper intentionality and a harmony that law of attraction from inside the vortex has orchestrated. In other words, when you get tuned into who you are, and from that high-flying, good-feeling place of appreciating your well-being, you have the feeling of wanting to share it with someone else. Very often, that's because someone else is offering a vibration. You are offering a vibration. The universe is matching those two vibrations at a particular point in time, and the question and answer is happening all at the same time. But what we notice happens often is that you'll be in the vortex when the idea to do the sharing comes about, and then sometimes because of the response of them, or because of other things that you are then focused upon, then at a later time when you are not in the vortex for whatever reason, and you are focused upon the same act of kindness or act of giving, you wonder what you were thinking because it feels off. So the key is to be in the vortex and do your best to stay in the vortex. But we want to talk to you about a number of things, because we've been talking about deconstructing thought. We've been talking about vibrational frequencies. We're talking about being inspired from inside the vortex, not doing something because you should do it, or because you feel committed to do it, or because someone else really wants you to do it, but doing it because you want to do it. So it's a matter of finding balance in all things, isn't it? Let's say that you feel generous and someone else feels appreciative. There's a balance in that. And as long as in your vortex you are feeling that well-being and generosity because you have far more resources than you can personally ever expend or express, so you're actually looking for good feeling ways of expressing that. So, and hundreds of people in this room are trying to figure out where you live and where your room is. They would like you to express some of it to them. But what we would like you to realize is that in that feeling of focus and in that awareness that you have abundance that you want to share, if you go to the vortex and then, if you let being in the vortex be what really matters to you, what happens from inside the vortex, the universe lines you up with others that are on the same vibrational wavelength. And when that happens, the sharing never feels like something now or later that was inappropriate, because the vortex understands the big picture of all things. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, the question that we would chronically ask ourselves when we get that urge to share is, am I doing it from inside the vortex? And what is my likelihood of staying inside the vortex relative to this situation? And then if you will make a decision that you're going to do these kinds of things only when you're in the vortex, then nothing but good can ever come from them. But we want to take this conversation beyond the sharing of resources. We want to talk about how law of attraction matches things up. So we want to go back to what we were talking about earlier, about how in any moment in time, you've got some vibrational points that are firing off within you. And law of attraction is matching these active vibrational points that you've got firing off with active vibrational points that others do. So let's say you're looking at a particular organization and you like what you see. And it feels good to you when you think about participating with them, either with your time or your thought or even your money. The idea of what they're doing feels good to you. And so there's a balance as you ponder who they are and what they are doing. There is a vibrational alignment that happens in you that is good for both of you, whether you ever offer any money to them or not. Holding someone as your object of attention while you are aligned with source energy is a very wonderful thing. So let's say that you're meeting with some of them, and let's say that you've meditated, you're tuned in, you've been flying high, you've been feeling good, you know you're in the vortex, you mostly stay there, and now you're having a meeting with some of them. And let's say that there are 3 or 4 of them. They are committee members or board members. They are people that want to convince you or want to thank you. And so you have a meeting that is orchestrated, sort of like a commitment, but orchestrated, where you're meeting with them. In the moment that you enter into the vibrational conversation or the verbal conversation, now there is some vibrational relationship that is happening. Now, we've already established that you're tuned in to the vibration of your vortex. But let's say, just for fun, that they are not. Let's say they're beating the drum of neediness. Let's say they're beating the drum of entitlement. Let's say they're beating the drum of being out of balance or wanting to sell or wanting to evoke from you, even wanting to they're wanting to clarify with you. They're wanting to elicit from you a behavior, but they're not doing it with their vibration, which is already in alignment. They're doing it from a different kind of vibration. We would say an out, in this example that we're making up here, an out of the vortex vibration. So now you come together with them. If you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on, clear-minded about who you are, then you stay in the vortex, your vibration stays high, and it really doesn't matter where they are, because somewhere in the mix of vibration that is them is something that matches with what you really want to do here. So as this combination of people come together and you are really dominating the vibrational sphere, because one who's connected to the stream is 1,000,000 times more influential than one who is not, you can bring from them a vibration that matches your vibration, and a sort of healing experience occurs. In other words, just because of your clarity, because of your knowing, because of what you know, and because of your attention to them, you evoke from them something that for them is quite unusual. They felt your power, they felt your clarity, they felt the goodness of what was happening. They got excited in a powerful new way because you made them feel a way that they don't commonly feel, because their vibrational average isn't where your vibrational average it usually is. So now if you're able to really leave them and where they are from this meeting forward out of the equation, then you can maintain the frequency that you established, and there's a rather good probability that in that high-minded, free-flowing vibration that you've got going, that you'll keep soliciting from them what you established in the beginning. But it really is a rather rare thing. That's what buyer's remorse is. And the reason it's a rare thing is because, and we really want you to hear this, because it is really always about you. If you are not able to hold your attention upon your goal or upon your dream or upon the collective co-creation that you established with them, if you get convinced by them to if you start attending their committee meetings, if you let them show what their average vibration really is, you raised them to a frequency that was a match for you, but it's not likely that they offer that frequency on a consistent level like you do. So what happens is, what we're really talking about is, how tuned in to your intentions are you? And the next question is, therefore, how much influence do they have on your vibrational frequency? You see, we're having this conversation not because you're worried about the money that you might give them, and really not because you're worried that you might spoil them by giving them money that they don't earn, because no one earns money. It's all law of attraction that brings it to you through the crack of least resistance. So it really doesn't matter whether they get their money from you or someone else or through some other avenue. That really is a non-issue. What this conversation is about is, sometimes you don't feel good about what you formerly felt good about because you were not able to maintain your frequency. Jerry offered a word on a conversation almost like this to us. He said, does familiarity really breed contempt? And of course, contempt is too strong a word. But what he was getting at is, you have a choice of dominating the reason and the way that you vibrate where you do, or what you are observing can do that. And so the answer that we gave Jerry and the answer that we're giving you is, get in, have fun, get out. Get in, have fun, get out. These long-standing committees and relationships, all they do is introduce you to a chronic frequency that's not up to speed with who you really are. And that's what makes you then believe that you have done them a disservice, because you are feeling the diminishment of your own vibration, you see. Jerry and Esther were discussing, so they are having a conversation together, and if they are both tuned into the vortex and having the conversation, then they feed one another's connection. But let's say someone else enters the room or the conversation who's not in that place. The tendency is to then blame the other person for the lower vibration, because you don't feel as good as you felt before you had the interaction. And we say, while that is an accurate depiction of what happened, because someone with a lower vibration interacting with someone with a higher vibration, you can see how it could sort of average out if you are interacting with each other on all levels of who you all are, with you having the probability of raising them and them having the probability of lowering you. But it really doesn't work that way. It's not averaging out. It's all about your focus and what you allow, you see. So there is never any vulnerability. People will say to us sometimes, Abraham, I'm so happy that I've learned about this, and I'm so happy that I'm getting tuned into my vortex, and I'm so glad that I have some reasonable vibrational control. But those people at work are so negative. So I feel like I need to keep myself a little bit separated from them. And we say, you don't need to separate yourself from them, or from what they're asking, or from what they're doing, or even from who they are. You just need to be aware of how you're tuning your vibration. And the answer really lies in what we have always called pre-paving. When you're off on your own, making your relationship with your source your dominant awareness, and then everything else will take care of itself. Something more?
Thank you so much.